Hello everyone, Ember here, and welcome back to a new video. In this one, I'd like to do a set review for the set White Flare. So just getting into things, we have a new Levani line, I think that's how you pronounce it, Levani. But yeah, not a Pokemon that gets too many cards in the TCG, so always nice to see a new one. But sadly, if you're hoping for a good card, then might have to wait a bit longer. Like healing 100 damage from each of your basic Pokemon could be nice if there was some super tanky basics, but to be honest, I think even in today's standard format with the likes of Terrapagos and like I think it's a Buffalon EX at the end of this video, like Lavani, even then I don't think is quite strong enough for like a standard healing control deck, sadly. But at least kind of interesting, right? Then we have a new Whimsicott EX, always nice to see, although I'm still not used to seeing this Pokemon as like not a fairy type, it still feels a bit weird. But this card is at least a bit exciting. Energy Gift says search your deck for up to 3 basic energy cards and attach them to your Pokemon any way you like, which is alright. And then Wonder Cotton for a grass energy says your opponent reveals their hand and you do 50 damage for each trainer card you find there. So it's basically just Poltergeist that was on Banette EX, but Banette did it for 2 energy and was doing 60 times. This is for 1 energy, doing 50 times, so it's like a bit of a trade-off here. I do think the 1 grass energy is definitely a lot more efficient. You also have things like Bug Catcher as well. Now, sadly, there is no like proper trainer lock outside of, actually using I guess the jellyfish that we'll look at later on as well. Like the one that just does 20 damage in item lock for a trainer lock rather, I should say, for a psychic energy. So like you could you could play that fish. Although actually, never mind, that fish only does item lock. Never mind. What am I saying? Anyway, like it is a little bit more awkward in that sense because like Shuppet could get item lock on a coin flip, whereas this doesn't have that option aside from maybe like Budew. But still, I think there's at least some fun potential to be had out of this. You could also like use Lurantis to add plus 20 damage. Like the HP is pretty weak for a stage 1 EX, but overall this seems kind of fun. Also got a 0 retreat cost, so quite nice to pivot around with. But yeah, looking forward to at least giving that one a go. Also got this Sourcebuck, which yeah, not very good, sadly. Lovely artwork though. Then we have a Shelmet, which yeah, so this Shelmet is very reminiscent of the Carablast that we looked at in the last set video. So it has the ability Exciting Evolution. If you have any Carablast in play, this Pokemon can evolve during the first turn of the turn it was played. So like you could evolve like almost immediately into the Excelgor, like the one that can like pivot around basically and do like Poison and Confusion, like the one from Journey Together. So that's kind of nice at least. This Excelgor sadly isn't very impressive. 50 damage, maybe discards an energy on a coin flip. Like, yeah, definitely don't play it with this guy, but certainly the other one for sure. Then we have a Virizion, which is very much a GLC piece, sadly. Then we get to Embor, very nice, the channel name being Empire, duh. I know you're not blind and everything. But like it's cool though. It's nice to see new Embor cards. Has the ability Inferno Fandango. As often as you like during a turn, you may attach a fire energy card from your hand to one of your Pokemon. Lovely ability to have in standard. It's maybe not as strong as Baxcalibur was, just because Baxcalibur had Irida in its heyday. And like I'm saying, like Baxcalibur is a nothing deck, but like it is still around technically. It just doesn't see nearly as much play as it used to. So I do think Embor at least has a slither of hope of being pretty good. It just kind of depends on what other fire type support we get and stuff in the future. But still a very strong ability and certainly one to keep an eye on. And a very nice looking card as well. Then we get to Sincere, and now if you saw my last set review video, then you'll know my extreme thoughts on this. But I just think it's such a waste that for 2 colors, the only thing they could come up with was 70 damage. Like, really? Is that all the flavor you want from this? But yeah, a bit of a shame, really. Then we have a look at Heatmore, which is pretty bad. But, if you're just starting off in GLC, then maybe it's okay just to get the board set up. But yeah, aside from GLC, not very good. Then we have Reshiram EX. So this is basically the fire-type version of Zekrom, at least attack-wise. Blaze Burst does 130 and then 50 more damage for each prize card your opponent's taken, and you have to discard energy from his Pokemon. So the effect isn't that bad, like discard energy is okay, but like the damage, it's okay, but like you still need to get to that point in the mid to late game. So it's definitely like a secondary attacker after something. So like you could pair this up with Embor, but you would definitely want a primary attacker in those earlier turns. But at least it's kind of interesting, right? Could be useful at some point, but as it stands, like we still need to see like Mega Charizard and stuff. We haven't seen what those do yet, so maybe there'll be some synergy there. But nothing as it stands. Then we have a new Samurott line for GLC. I say that because it's just not very good for standard, I don't think. Like, the ability's kind of fun with air balloon and things, but overall, I'm just not really feeling this card. Like 30 damage, then 50 more for each energy attached to this Pokemon. Like, is it really worth it having like a stage 2 pivot line in your deck just to like pivot around and switch? I'm not really feeling it. Like, the attack, maybe if like Bax Caliber was the thing still and you could cheat it out to play with Archie's Ace in the Hole or something, but that's not really a thing in standard. So, like, maybe in the future this could be good, but as it stands, nothing crazy right now. Then we have a Basculin, can do 50 damage, but only if your opponent has no damage counters on it, which is just, yeah, it's just a bit pitiful, really. Very bad card. We have a Ducklet and a Swanna, which is just horrendous and bland. Then we have a Vanillix. Always like this Pokemon. It's just a shame that most of its cards are terrible. Double Freeze, 90 damage, flip 2 coins, 90 for each heads. If at least one of them are heads, you do Paralysis. Like, it's just a meme, really, isn't it? Like, maybe in GLC, but there's no double colors anymore. So, yeah, a bit of a shame for that one. And I know this one also makes a lot of people sad, but Keldeo EX sadly not got that Russian ability. So has the attack Gale Thrust, can do 120 if it moved from the bench to the active spot. Like, for 2 energy, a water and a colorless, that is astronomically bad in this day and age. Just so many better options than this. It's just, yeah, it's a bit of a shame, really. But yeah, Keldeo, really nothing that impressive. Water double colorless, 120. Like, this set really radiates a double colorless reprint, but there's just none of the sorts in this set. There's like reverse energy, but that's a far cry from double colorless. So yeah, Keldeo, not very good, sadly. Then we have a new Zeb Striker. Does 100 and then 30 snipe. Not very good. Then we have a new Galvantula. Discard a light energy from this Pokemon. This attack does 50 damage for each card you discard this way. So in our last set review, so for the other part of this set, we did take a look at a Dynamotor Electric, just in case you missed it. That will allow you to charge up lightning energy from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. So, like, I guess there's potential there for like a small budget deck, but overall, I think the amount of energy that you'll need just to do any respectable damage is kind of a lot. Like, you are asking a lot from this deck, so I'm not really feeling it for Galvantula, unfortunately. Maybe if we get some more lightning type support in the future, but nothing too crazy. Sorry. Then we have a Stunfisk, which, yeah, it's pretty bad. We've got a Swoobat, which is really bad. Then we have a Sigilif rather. Okay, that's really bad. Let's go to Configrigus. Please not be rubbish. Elongating Damarigrigius. I don't know what that attack name is. Move all damage counters from one of your bench Pokemon to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Okay, that's at least a bit more interesting. Maybe kind of playable in a big tanky heal meme deck or something. Like, these attacks are never good. Like, they never see play in standard, really. Like, I remember, was there one that was okay in black and white? I don't think there was. Yeah, I don't think these attacks have ever been like anything to write home about, but like, at least it's a bit more interesting than, like the rest of the stuff that we've had to take a look at. But, it's kind of interesting. Then we see a new Gothitella. Once your turn, if it's in the active spot, you may have your opponent shuffle their hand to their deck and draw 3, which is quite disruptive. And then Synchro Shot does 180 for 2 if you have the same number of cards as your opponent. So, quite disruptive, but 180 for 2 is really bad. So, like, I'm not really feeling it for this one. Like, if you really wanted to, I suppose there's like a Xatu Gothitella deck here if you really wanted to make it work, but overall, I'm not really feeling it for this card, sadly. It's just not very good. At least it's pretty good for GLC, though. It's nice to have more playable Stage 2s in GLC, but yeah, not very good aside from that. Then we get to certainly one of the better cards from this set, and one that has a lot of people talking. Frillish, as well, is worth mentioning. 20 damage and item lock. So, yeah, quite scary, to be honest, for just a single Psychic Energy. And then Jellicent EX says, when it's in the active spot, your opponent can't play any items or attach any tool cards, which is pretty lethal because there is also going to be a Tool Scrapper reprint in the set. So, like, having Sea Curse and Tool Scrapper and things like Xerasic, very, very annoying, very disruptive. Like, the attack is nothing to write home about, but, this in God of War could be quite scary. Or, like, this was Xatu, maybe. Or, I think there was one more idea that someone mentioned. God of War, Zatu. What's the third? I feel like there's a third option for this, but it is still at least interesting. Oh yeah, Spathra maybe. But yeah, still kind of cool. Definitely have some faith that this will see play. So, it's nice that we're getting a handful of cards from these sets that we'll actually see play. But, yeah, Jellicent EX, definitely not that bad. Then we have a new Gigalith line. Revenge Cannon does 20 damage for each damage counter on your benched fighting type Pokemon. So you'd have to use something like a Pupitar to do a bunch of damage, and then like you could do crazy amounts of damage maybe with Gigalith. Like there's maybe something here. It just depends like how quickly you can get the damage counters on there. Like Cofagrigus might actually be like the fastest way to damage your own Pokemon, but aside from Cofagrigus, I'm not actually sure what else you could play with this. But yeah, it's a shame it's benched fighting types because like you could have used things like Dodrio and stuff for this, but yeah, like I guess this could be something at the very least, which is better than most cards in this set. And then Rising Chop on Sork does 90 damage, and if your opponent isn't in the X, it does nothing. So it's that Howlucha, isn't it, from like Furious Fist or something. So that's kind of cool, like a bit of a fun callback. I mentioned this in the last video, but we are getting an item card in the next set, like the next proper mega set, that will increase your fighting type damage by plus 30 for a turn. So like that with this could be okay. Like maybe just to get some chip damage in the earlier game against some EX Pokemon, but chip damage hasn't been as good as it used to be in the past right now. And I think some of that just has to do with like the sheer volume of HP, and it's only getting bigger as well. So, like 90 damage probably isn't going to do much against a Mega Evolution, but, maybe it's better than I'm giving it credit for. Then we have an Archon, which, yeah, it's pretty bad. Archeops, which has the ability Primal Wings. Once your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active, you may choose one of your opponent's evolved Pokemon and de-evolve it. This is kind of cool, but it's weirdly reminiscent of the Aerodactyl from 151, which just had this as an attack on a stage 1 Pokemon, and that was also a fossil, so it's just as awkward really to get going, but and this is ability, to be fair. And Aerodactyl was through an attack, and it just targeted your opponent's active. This is just anyone. So maybe this is better, but like still, I'm not really feeling this. There's something just a bit off about this. Like it seems like a lot of work just to really like cheese out a prize card in a spread deck or something. But maybe I'm giving this too much flack. I think this is at very least interesting, and maybe maybe there's a spread deck to be had out of this where you just damage a bunch of stuff and then start de-evolving them. But I feel like TM Devolution is probably still just a bit better. But yeah, it's kind of a shame because I do like Archops a lot. And I guess like you could rock throw and then I suppose that's what you do, right? You just use the attack and then de-evolve whatever. But yeah, it's kind of cool though. Then we have a Meow Chow, does nothing. We've got a Terrakion, probably a GLC piece actually, but maybe something to consider for Mega Lucario when it comes around. Can do 130, which is quite nice. It's nice to have a bit more retaliation damage, not just the usual 120. So doing 130 is nice. So I'm thinking like maybe actually is there no, I thought that was an EX symbol for some reason, but no, okay. So yeah, Terrakion's pretty good for GLC. Could be good with Lucario, which is nice. We've got Perleon, which can find a bunch of dark Pokemon from the deck. Lipard, doing 50 and discard a random card. We've got Scrafty, which does have like a very fun callback to the beat up Sneasel, the one that did like the same thing, but it was 30 damage times. So this one is flip a coin for each dark Pokemon you have in play, and you do 60 damage for each heads. It's not a very good attack, to be honest. Like even with Area Zero in play, and you just like flood the board with terrestrial dark Pokemon and stuff. But overall, though, like I still think this is at least a bit fun, and like you could make a Scrafty deck, which is cool. I think they're kind of like trying to push a lot of really small decks with these sets, and Scrafty is certainly one of them. So it'd be kind of fun to maybe try and make this work, especially in GLC as well. It's pretty good. So we've got a Trubbish line. Always nice to see more Trubbish and Garbodor. Was really hoping this would be a Garbotoxin reprint, not gonna lie, but yeah, this is really bad. Okay, then we have a Zoroark, which is, one of the cards that was actually revealed a couple of weeks back, probably because it's one of the more interesting ones in this set. Mind Jack doing 30 damage for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Yeah, not that bad, really. And then Foul Play, choose one of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks and use this attack. So that's what, for reverse energy, I'm guessing is the only way you can really power this up. But, like, I mean, when we get to, like, Megas, right? Yeah, like Mega Evolutions that can do 260 plus damage per attack, then I do think there is a place for Zoroark. But as it stands right now, I don't think there's too many attacks you'd want to copy. Like, I guess Dragapult and Charizard come to mind, but yeah, not really many attacks that stand out to me as being really big standouts. But Zoroark's not too bad. Definitely kind of cool. Then we have a new Hydreigon line, which is always fun to see. A new Dino with 8 HP, sadly, so you have to use the 70 HP one for Poffin. Got this Hydreigon EX, so get another dog type Hydreigon, everybody, which is, I guess, kind of cool. Has the ability Greedy Eater, which, if your opponent's basic Pokemon is knocked out, that's a keyword there, basic Pokemon. By damage from an attack from this Pokemon uses, take one more prize card. And then Dark Bite for a whopping 5 energy, very expensive. It does 200 damage, and during your opponent's next turn, that Pokemon can't retreat. I really just wish this had been 4 energy for 200 damage because, like, 5 energy is so expensive. Like, you're not just using Crispin Neo Upper Energy, right? You're using, like, Neo Upper Energy, Crispin, Manual Attach, Pass, next turn attach another energy. It's just crazy how much this would take to get going. But, you can't have, like, a 3-price turn versus Terrapagos, I guess, but like 200 is not a lot. Like, you'll have to use a Defiance Band to KO those things. So I'm not sure this is very good. Definitely more on the meme side of things, but maybe it could be a lot of fun, though, at the very least. Then we have a Ferrothorn. Power Whip is... Okay, that's just a bad card. It's a bit sad. Then we have a Klinklang line. Always fun to see. Each of your Pokemon with any Metal Energy attached take 20 less damage from attacks. You know what? I think this set was designed to be its own independent format. I'm just going to come out and say it. I think this was designed to be its own thing. There's no way these cards are designed for standard. There's just no way. All right, Durant does 20 damage, and if Durant is on your bench, it does 40 instead. Like, really? I like the artwork though. Like, the artwork is fun. I love the like the clay artwork. It's really nice. Druddigon. You any good? You like the only dragon type as well in these sets. But yeah, the Druddigon definitely doesn't replace the one in GLC. But it does have Shred, kind of cool, I guess. But yeah, nothing crazy there. Patrat can search your deck for an item. Watchhog. Focus Energy. During your next turn, this Pokemon's Hyper Fang attack base damage is 240. Wait, what? Oh, that's accurate. I thought that was a joke from Pokebeach. Okay, 240. I mean, that is respectable. That's a lot of damage, to be honest. That's a strange amount of damage, actually, for a Watchhog to be thrown out for just 1 energy. Like, you'll have to get him to live a turn. Like, that's going to be the hard part. But if you can, there's maybe, like, a funny meme deck to be had out of this. Because 240 for 1, I mean, on a coin flip, it does nothing. But, like, 240 is a lot of damage, right? So maybe Watchhog could be good. Then we have the Lillipup line. Stoutland is, I guess, a control piece maybe, but not very good. Then we have Boufflant EX. Takes 3 less damage from attacks. Kind of cool. You could definitely get the other Boufflant involved, so you could take minus 60 as well. So you could like take minus 90, I'm guessing. And then with like a Bravery Charm, you could have 270 HP. So you'd have more than 300 at that point, which is cool. Then Goldbreaker does 200 for 3 against EXs. The attack isn't great, but like maybe the tank ability carries this card into playability. But yeah, nothing too crazy, but maybe like a Terrapagos colorless box, could be fun. Then we've got a Bravery, which is awful, a Tornadus, which belongs in GLC. And then we also see the trainers again. We have Energy Retrieval, which is nice to see. Tool Scrapper, which is a fun reprint. I'm glad we're getting back this card. Antique Plume Fossil, which is, what does this do? Okay, so it's protected while on the bench from damage. That's kind of cool. Then we get to a really fun card. Okay, Brave Bangle. This is what everyone's been waiting for. So the attacks of the Pokemon this card is attached to, excluding Pokemon with a Roblox, deal 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon EX. We've got it. I've been asking for several sets now that we need like a choice band or like a choice belt of some description to deal with EX Pokemon. Like, we need the plus 30 damage modifier. So I'm glad we finally got this. It's also limited to Pokemon without a Roblox. So like, you could like put this on a Typhlosion, for example, but you couldn't put it on a Charizard, which it's nice and fair. So I love the fact that we're actually getting this. Like, this with Typhlosion plus Stormy Mountain will just KO pretty much anything. So that's kind of crazy as well. So yeah, I do think Brave Bangle is a very, very good card and definitely like worth picking up. So we have Harlequin, which It's pretty bad. It's a fun, flavoursome card, right? You could like play a bunch of these in a meme deck, but yeah, I don't think this is very good to be honest. Then we have a Cherin, draw three, whatever. Hilder, which is exclusively a Wug Trio buff. I don't want to hear it anywhere else. Like you could maybe play this in your upper energy decks as well that like ultra rely on it. You know, things like Dragapult maybe. Suit your deck for an evolution Pokemon and one energy card. So, you know, it's just a Wug Trio and an Ignition Energy basically. So yeah, Ignition Energy just provides three colors, but you have to discard it at the end of your turn. So definitely a Wug Trio buff for sure. So we get Wug Trio buffs, yay. But yeah, that's going to be my White Flare set review. Let me know what you think down below. And yeah, thank you for watching.